Mike Haley.
Alright everyone, Mike Haley here, coach of the Toronto Torterras. Back again with some more Showdown draft content for you guys. This time we're going to be back in the Elite Trainers Association, a small league that I run with one of my best friends, Radioactive Mayo. For Season 6 of ETA, we're taking it back to a National Dex draft. For this season, we're going to have 12 Pokemon per roster. The 12 Pokemon are going to be 2 from each of our tiers, and we have 6 tiers this season. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and E tier. Those 6 tiers are then broken up into 3 sub-tiers. So we have a plus tier, a neutral tier, and a minus tier. With the 12 Pokemon you have on your roster, 3 of those Pokemon are going to be Terra Captains. So the first Terra Captain you can have is any Pokemon from B minus tier all the way down to the E minus tier. And then your other 2 captains are going to be both of your E tiers. For tiers S and E, if you select from the plus tier, you must select from the minus tier. For tiers A through D, however, it is a system of checks and balances. So you may select 2 from a plus category, as long as there isn't more Pokemon from the plus tiers than there is the minus tiers, then it's totally okay. So what that means is you could have 2 A plus Pokemon and it balances out if you select 2 B minus Pokemon. Hello, Mike from the future. Just want to say, for some reason, on all of the draft cards, special defense got auto-corrected to Spider. I'm about an hour and a half into editing this video and I just realized that, and I am not changing it. So that's what Spider means. For our first pick, we went ahead and we took our team mascot, Torterra. For those of you who followed along with my channel previously, you know in Season 5 of the ETA, I actually did have Torterra on my team, again as a mascot pick, and it actually ended up winning the MVP award with 16 kills over the season. 6 out of the 8 games we brought Torterra, we did bring a Shell Smash set, so people in the ETA are aware that Torterra is a very intimidating sweeper if it gets that Shell Smash up. However, this year, I do want to use the Shell Smash, but I'd also like to use some more creative sets I didn't get to use with Torterra last season. I think it offers a lot of utility in terms of being an offensive threat with Shell Smash. I also think it can be a very good threat with the other 2 moves it got from the recent DLC, which is Body Press and Iron Defense. And of course, Torterra does provide some support moves such as Leech Seed and Stealth Rocks to help out our team as well. Overall, Torterra is just my favorite Pokemon, and it is the mascot of this team, so I was very excited to bring it back this season. With our second pick, I went ahead and took a Pokemon that's been a staple in the OU meta since its debut in Gen 2, and that is Tyranitar. Tyranitar is a very powerful pseudo-legendary with a rock and dark typing. Its base stats are fantastic, boasting amazing numbers: 100 HP, 134 attack, 110 defense, 95 special attack, 100 special defense. The only thing that's really low on Tyranitar is its speed, being at 61. However, it does have speed boosting moves such as Dragon Dance, which make it an offensive threat. However, most people know Tyranitar as a special defensive wall. With the ability Sandstream, Rock-type Pokemon actually get a boost to their special defense in Sand, multiplying it by 1.5. With Tyranitar having a base 100 HP stat and a base 100 special defense stat, this just means it becomes an absolute special wall in most cases, especially if we run it with an Assault Vest set. Tyranitar was previously used on one of my teams back in Season 3 of the ETA, and it had an impressive season with over 9 kills. So I'm trying to replicate a little bit of that again this season with Tyranitar. In the third round of the draft, I wanted to go ahead and grab a Pokemon that complemented Tyranitar. So I went ahead and I grabbed Dracozolt, a very good Sand Rush user that I have not used previously that I wanted to try out. The ability Sand Rush just allows your Pokemon to have 2 times speed in Sandstorm, and you are immune to sand damage, which is good for Dracozolt, who is normally going to take that chip damage from sand. Dracozolt has a base 100 attack stat and a base 75 speed stat. Normally most people wouldn't think 75 is that good, but when we're in sand and we have the Sand Rush activated, we're going to be faster than a lot of fast Pokemon. Pokemon such as Deoxys Speed, Zamazenta, and Dragapult were actually going to be faster than. Dracozolt and Arctozolt both share a unique signature move called Bolt Beat, a base 85 electric type attack that actually doubles if your speed is higher than your target. Since we plan on bringing Dracozolt into the sand most of the time, it is going to be faster than most things, which now makes that move a 170 bit. Holy shit, that is a fucking big ass spider on my wall I'm looking at right now. I'm actually gonna go get something to kill that. For the 4th round of the draft, I wanted to secure some more speed and power on this team. We were actually able to grab our S+ Pokemon, which is going to be Mega Lopunny. It has base 136 attack with base 135 speed. Very fast, very powerful. It can hit you with close combat and facades, even on your ghost types with the ability Scrappy. Unfortunately, in the ETA, we do have the moves Return and Frustration Band, which is a bit unfortunate for us because we're losing out on our strongest normal type stab moves. However, I believe Lopunny still has a lot of moves in its arsenal that make it very useful, such as Fake Out and Close Combat and Triple Axle as well. For the 5th round of the draft, I wanted to double down on the speed as well as some utility, so I went ahead and grabbed a Pokemon that was very popular through generations 4 through 6, and that is Starmie. Starmie is a water psychic type Pokemon that I've had my eyes on for a very long time. Starmie provides a lot of support for our team. It has 2 very good abilities with Analytic, which multiply its attack stat if our target is faster than us, and as well as Natural Cure, which means any status Starmie takes, as soon as we switch out, we can actually get rid of it. We can run bulky sets with Starmie with that Natural Cure ability, as it gets access to Recover and Screens, as long as some other support moves such as Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards for our team, as well as it can be an offensive threat. It does have a 115 base speed and a base 100 special attack, so we can run Choice Spec sets, Choice Scarf sets, and trick them away on some defensive threats that want to switch into it. I just believe that Starmie provides a lot. I think there's a lot of different things you can do with this little starfish, so I'm very excited to try it out for the first time. In the 6th round of the draft, I went ahead and grabbed one of the newer Pokemon that have come out of the Indigo Disc DLC, and that's going to be Pecharunt. I thought Pecharunt paired very well with Tyranitar, being able to switch in, not take fighting type damage for Tyranitar, and for Pecharunt, if there's any dark types that threaten it, or psychic types that threaten it, I thought it went well with Tyranitar. Pecharunt has a very interesting EV spread where it has base 88 stat in every stat besides defense, where it's 160. So this thing is an absolute physical wall, which is really good for our team. It does have the ability Poison Puppeteer, which just means if any Pokemon is poisoned or toxic in its presence, it also becomes confused, which is very nice. Especially it pairs well with the signature move, Malignant Chain, which is a base 100 poison type attack with 100% accuracy that has a 50% chance to toxic our opponent. That paired with a slew of other good moves that make this thing a very good wall, such as Recover, Parting Shot, Nasty Plot. It just creates a little bit of a headache for a lot of teams, so I was very interested to try out this new Pokemon. In the 7th round, I went ahead and grabbed a ground resistance Pokemon. I started to notice our team was becoming a bit too weak to ground types, so I needed something up in the air. However, I also had some other positions I wanted to fill, such as a fire type, so I actually ended up combining the fire and flying type I was looking for, and I went ahead and I grabbed Moltres. I've never personally used Moltres before. I typically have a thing with Pokemon that are 4 times weak to Stealth Rocks. It kind of forces them to wear heavy duty boots a lot. I'm willing to take the risk this season with Moltres. I think it can prove useful with the Flame Body ability. Any physical threats that might scare us, we have the potential to burn them, and then it just provides more support for our team. Starmie does have Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards, however Rapid Spin isn't always reliable, especially if our opponent has a really good ghost type. So I wanted to have something with Defog as well. Moltres has a really good special attack stat as well, so its attacks are no joke. It can fire off some pretty powerful overheats, flamethrowers, and hurricanes, as well as Scorching Sands, which is a pretty good coverage move for electric types. In the next round, I went ahead and grabbed another useful flying type to our team, which is going to be Gligar. Gligar can prove to be a very annoying Pokemon for people to deal with, especially with the Eviolite item. It can prove to be quite bulky. It already has base 105 defense and 65 special defense, which will then be further boosted by the Eviolite item. provides us that more defog support as well as every hazard in the game. Gligar and Gliscor recently got buffed in Gen 9, getting access to Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rocks. They just have every hazard in the book, so I thought hazard stacking wouldn't be a bad idea for us. Get some chip damage for some of our big sweepers like Lopunny or Dracozolt or Torterra. So I thought overall Gligar would just be useful, as well as it has the ability Sand Veil, so its evasiveness is actually boosted by 1.25 in Sand, which we're going to be running a lot, most likely. As we got into round 9 of the draft, I noticed I was missing 2 very important types I like to have when I'm building a team for draft, and that is the Steel type and the Fairy type. And at this point, we were already down to our D and our E tiers. So when you're that low on the tier list, there's not that much great Pokemon to pick from. So I went ahead and grabbed the best options I thought we could. So this round, we went ahead and grabbed Perrserker. Perrserker is about as average as they come. It has decent HP with 70, a good attack stat with 110, and a solid defensive stat with base 100. The rest of its stats are pretty abysmal, but that's not too bad. If we're just using this thing as a defensive tool or even a slow offensive tool, it could prove to be some use, as it does have the ability Tough Claws, so any contact moves we make actually are multiplied by 1.3. There's not a whole lot of coverage on Perrserker. The only real coverage moves it gets is Play Rough for any of those fighting types we may see come in against it. However, I did think it was useful with its ability to get slow U-turns off, and it's another stealth rocker for the team. In the 10th round, I wanted to grab a Pokemon that I thought could prove to be somewhat useful out of the E tier. The first thing I was thinking was to grab a thick fat user. The one I originally wanted was Walrein, however was taken. So I went ahead and I grabbed another thick fat user in Dewgong, which is pretty much just Walrein, but less offensive power, really. Quite honestly, when I was comparing the two, I thought both of them are pretty similar. Dewgong, however, with the recent Indigo Disc DLC, got a plethora of moves added to its arsenal. It got moves such as Triple Axle, Ice Spinner, Flip Turn, just about every water ice move you could ever think of, they just gave to Dewgong for some reason, which honestly kind of makes Dewgong pretty useful. That and having Terra Blast, I thought with the ability Thick Fat, it'd be able to help out the team. Round 11, we still needed a Fairy type. As I mentioned, we don't really have that many options available to us. So I grabbed quite literally the only Fairy I could out of the D tier was Shiinotic. Shiinotic is not exactly the best Fairy type in my opinion. Its stats are pretty mediocre. It does have some useful tools. It does have Effect Spore as an ability, so any kind of physical threats, I suppose, we have a chance to give them some kind of status. It has good recovery with the move Moonlight, as well as Leech Seed to gain some health back after every turn. And just some useful status moves I think we might be able to use, such as Spore and Strength Sap. The only real reason Shiinotic kind of works for our team is another thing I noticed is we were starting to get pretty weak to water types as well. Our original ground type Torterra is neutral to water, and it's our Terra captain, so it's not exactly always going to be that typing anyways. With that, Gligar on the team now, Tyranitar, Moltres, things were just starting to become a little too weak to water, which is another reason for the Dewgong pick as well. This way to just try and fix some of the holes we had on our team, so Shiinotic may not be the best Fairy type or the one I wanted the most, but we'll definitely try and get it to work. And our last pick of the draft is actually going to be Chimecho, a Psychic type Pokemon with the ability Levitate, which is going to be really useful for this team. As I mentioned, some of this team is pretty weak to the ground type, so being able to have Levitate is really good so we can switch in on those ground types and not be affected. I actually do think we can bring Chimecho to a few different games. There's actually a lot of different sets we can run with it. It has a lot of tools under its belt. It has support moves like Screens and Defog, Healing Wish, Heal Bell, and it can also prove to be an offensive threat as well. It does have access to Calm Mind to further bolster its special attack and special defense, and if we run a more bulky variant, we can also run Recover on top of that to gain health back. Overall, I thought Chimecho was one of those E tiers that we could actually bring to a few games, and having the ability to Terra might actually make it pretty useful. That is going to be the Toronto Torterras for Season 6 of the ETA. I hope you all enjoy and stay tuned for weekly uploads. We start week 1 probably right after this has been posted. Thank you again to everyone who signed up this season and is playing, and I'm very excited for it. So I will see you guys soon.